connect you with experienced attorneys who can answer your questions and guide you through the process. From visas to green cards, asylum to citizenship, we help you find the right legal expertise so you can move forward with confidence. ImmigrationQuestion.com. Real news, real answers, real quick. Stay tuned. We go live in 30 seconds.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's live webinar brought to you by ImmigrationQuestion.com, your trusted source for immigration news, expert legal insights, and real-time conversation with licensed immigration attorneys. My name is Ellie, and I'll be your host for today's important session. From F-1 visa to green card, long-term options for international students. For many international students, the F-1 visa is the gateway to education and opportunity in the United States. But as a graduation approaches, a new question arises. How can you legally remain in the country after OPT? What pathways lead to permanent residency? And how can you plan to avoid gaps in status? We are honored to be joined today by attorney Fumi Oke, a dedicated immigration attorney based in Fort Worth, Texas, a graduate from Indiana University. Robert H. McKinley School of Law, attorney Oke is fluent in Spanish and French and is known for her empathetic, client-focused approach. She has helped countless individuals and families navigate complex immigration processes, including student visa transition, employment-based cases, and long-term residency planning. Attorney Oke, we are so pleased to have you with us today again. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for the introduction.
No worries. So before we dive in, a quick essential reminder. ImmigrationQuestion.com is a two-in-one platform that connects users with licensed immigration attorneys. We are not a law firm and we are not affiliated with AILA or USCIS. All legal services are provided independently by attorneys in our network. Now let's get started. So attorney, can you begin by outlining the main immigration pathways available to F-1 students after completing their studies?
Yeah, sure. Once again, thanks for having me. So the way that I, like to categorize, the different pathways is, just looking at the different buckets available based on how the USCIS or Department of Homeland Security altogether, along with in partnership with universities, have created, these different categories, if you will. So first is the employment-based, which is the more common. Employment-based category includes those pathways that are specifically outlined for those with specialized knowledge and training, assuming that that specialized knowledge and training is gained while you're in that in the university that you would eventually graduate from. So of course, these employment-based visas that are available for those with specialized knowledge include H-1B, the O-1, the L-1 transfer visa, which is intra-company transfer visa, and also those that are specifically allocated to different countries based on the treaty relationships that we have, which is the United States have with different countries, which are the TN, or the H-1B one. TN is for Mexico and Canada, based on a NAFTA trade agreement. H-1B one is specifically for Singaporean and Chilean foreign nationals. And all of these visas are, the underpinning common denominator is the fact that they are based on having a specialized knowledge. And if I haven't mentioned the O-1 visa, that's also one for those with extraordinary ability. Essentially, these are all employment-based visas, and the most important thing to also note is that they are short-term. So they require the beneficiary and their petitioner to renew it yearly, just depending on the allocated time that is on each visa. They vary from visa to visa, but they are all equal opportunity type visas for those that meet the requirements to apply for them. So moving on from the employment base, we now also have other ones that are less commonly used, but they are available. So those are the family-based visas. Those are when where you an immediate relative or a relative can petition for you. Or if you do get married to a U.S. citizen, that's also another pathway. So those are also routes to take if you qualify for those based on a familial relationship with either a green card holder or a U.S. citizen. Um, and you also have other ones available, such as specialized positions, such as the National EB2 National Interest Waiver or EB1A, which are all long-term pathways, direct green card long-term pathways. So yeah, that's the long and short of it. Of course, as we go on into with this discussion, we'll most likely speak more directly on specific pathways that will essentially assist with your interest in remaining in the country while utilizing the special skills that you gained in your program.
Okay, so OPT is often the first step after graduation, right? So how do
Yes.
OPT and STEM OPT extensions fit into like the broader strategy of transitioning
Yeah,
from student status to a green card?
and that's a great question. So OPT and STEM OPT, those are technically, and if we look at it in the range, or if we look at it in visa types and visa categories, these are specifically designated through, or they are allocated through your university. So they are still technically, they're an extension of your program, essentially. So you will still be considered having an F-1 status while on STEM OPT and OPT. Even though your program has ended, it is a post-program, is categorized as a post-program optional, practical training learning, as the name it describes it. So basically, how this works is that you will, under that specific amount of
Mhm.
time that's outlined on your OPT or STEM OPT, depending on what you qualify for, that will allow you, an extra amount of time to stay, a specific extra amount of time to stay in the United States to gain more practical training. And basically, it's like the next step where you're utilizing your skills that you gain in your program to now utilize it and I guess effectively contribute that to the American economy while also gaining more practical skills. So that's where a company or a job provides you sponsorship, and it's not a separate sponsorship altogether. It's just a sponsorship of your STEM OPC or your OPT or CPT. And this sponsorship will then still remain connected to your F1 visa status. So consider it as just an extended F1 visa status. And while you're in that program, either it's 12 months or 24 months or 36 months, you are then utilizing that time to now think about next steps of will this company that I'm on, where I'm completing my OPT, will they be potentially entering me into the H-1B lottery? Will they potentially be sponsoring me for a green card? These are things that you would be asking or you'll be looking into in terms of navigating next steps if you do decide that this is that staying in the country and continuing to, or staying with that company is what you would like to do.
Oh, okay, got it. So beyond the H-1B visa, which is getting so much attention right now, right, for its new policies, what are like other
Yes.
employment-based options should like international students be considering?
Yeah, sure. And like you rightly said, this is such a hot topic in this current climate. Just given the fact that the amount of attention it's received in the past 5 days alone, has been, very, very, very interesting. It's one, of course, caused people to, like you said, rethink what other options are there when it
Mhm.
comes to, having still utilizing my specialized knowledge and my specialized skills if the H-1B is no more an option. So, just to provide, a bit of a disclaimer is that we don't know the current future of H-1B, just given the fact that there's just so much
Yeah.
conversations around overhauling the program altogether. There's even as early as yesterday, they talked about, or they introduced a new rulemaking to the Department of Labor on just changing the way in which the H-1B visa program lottery is allocated. It's going to be more wage if it passes, or if it becomes a
Mhm.
rule, it will most likely be more wage based. So the higher your wages, that will then determine how many more chances you have of being selected in the lottery. So all of this basically puts makes you know the makes the employer and the employee really start thinking about what other options are available to them in terms of visa sponsorship. Some routes that we as attorneys would suggest is the O1 visa. So the O1 visa route, of course, that is those are visas allocated to those with extraordinary ability. So you have to demonstrate, or basically through meeting specific criteria as outlined in the O1 visa requirements. You must meet those criteria. Must demonstrate through the petition that you, as the O1, as the applicant or beneficiary, meet those criteria, and through that would yield an approval of the O1 visa. And the reason why it's not necessarily as much as utilized is because of how often you would need to renew it, and sometimes it's not guaranteed because you would have to present your case again as if it's fresh, basically saying, hey, this is why we will need an O1 visa again. The reason remains the same, but they was basically be reviewing it as if it's with a fresh pair of eyes. So that basically causes a discouragement of if H1B or O1 were equally viable options, we would suggest H1B. But on that note, other visa pathways that employers consider include the L1B or L1A transferee visa program,
Mhm.
whereby if you work with the company for at least a year, and it has to be a U.S. based company, um, or it has to have a U.S. You have to have worked with the U.S. company for at least a year, and then if you transfer over to the subsidiary company and work with them for a year, and they would be able to transfer you back on that visa. So that's another potential visa type to consider. Other ones include the long-term ones of the green card sponsorship. Those take a longer time, but those are visas, or those are petitions or employment-based visas that employers are starting to consider in terms of long-term strategy. Should we just go ahead and start out with sponsoring this employee on a green card, and play the waiting game, take however long it takes to get us to that point where they're just given a green card to work with that employer.
Oh, I see. So, to help more international students when they're planning their long-term immigration journey, what are some common mistakes and how can they avoid them?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'll be looking at my notes because I really, did a try to make sure to prepare for
Mhm.
this by, doing as much research as I can. But a few things that, and this is just mistakes, correct? Mistakes that they make and how to
Yeah.
avoid it, correct?
Yes.
One mistake is just relying solely on H-1B as an option. So
Oh.
even the all this news aside, and just all these changes that are slowly starting to happen to the H-1B aside, it has always been a lottery based system where there's no guarantee. So it's a lottery-based system where
Mhm.
it's a random selection. So this random selection, the chances just a chance that you could get it, or there's a chance that you could not get it. So the point is that not to rely solely on H-1B selection as the direct option for you to remain in the country, or remain utilizing your specialized skills to
Mhm.
contribute to the American economy. So that's one thing. Another one is not maintaining a status. So always make sure that you are aware of what your status is, your current status is, and always ensure that that's you are on top of if you need to speak with your designated school officer if you need to ensure that you have your F-1 visa is still valid, all those things. So if you need to renew your visa, those are things that you need to make sure you're prepping ahead of time for. Another one is starting too late. So just altogether, you already have an idea of when your program is anticipated to end. So, I mean, depending on how much, your DSO is heavily involved in your program, in your school, depending on how big or small your program is, your school is, that tends to determine how much, you're kind of provided the tools and the enough materials and guidance on how early you should be starting to prep. But most times you shouldn't rely on that. You should make sure you take your own, immigration world altogether into your own hands by staying on top of it. Speaking, if your DSO doesn't make an appointment with you, you make an appointment with them to ask them, okay, I'm graduating in 6 months, what's next? Or I'm graduating in, a year, what's next? So making sure that you start on time is very important. So in ignoring your country quotas, so looking at like the fact that we already know that green card allocation is there's a backlog to it. So it's very important to know the priority dates for your country. What look at it based on your employment based green card type. So if your eventual company that plans to sponsor your visa is sponsoring you for EB3 or EB2 or EB1, you would look at that and you would look at the visa bulletin for the Department of State for that month, and you will basically try, just pretty much learn those charts and learn how to track what your priority date is. So sometimes a mistake is that you're just totally clueless about how all those things work, but that's very important to stay on top of in terms of knowing what when your priority date is and how to track your priority date. So yeah, those are very important things. Oh, also another mistake, one more that's very big is not documenting your achievements. So many times because you are in school, you have this advantage of being able to potentially share what you've done to get you to to qualify for specific visa types. So if you have done a thorough documentation of what you've done in your program, awards you've won, um, seminars that you've taken and been a part of, even if you've done presentations, even as small as they are or as big as they are, make sure you're always documenting it. Make sure that you are doing follow-ups based on that, recommendations that you with people that you have been a part of their programs, their seminars. Make sure that you are doing a full comprehensive collation of your school program, of the program you're in, so that you'd be able to utilize those accolades well in articulating what you've done if you need to. So if you need to apply for O1, those are the documentation that helps you to build a great O1 profile. EB2 NIW also requires a good profile of your scholarly history. So those are things that you should keep in mind to do as you're in your program, as you're running up your programs, to have a great comprehensive profile of what you've done and what you've achieved.
Yeah, so you just have to like have plan A, B, and C, and then you have to plan ahead. Always plan ahead. Yeah.
Yes.
So next question is: many students they worry about like maintaining lawful status. What are like the practical steps can they take to stay compliant while exploring permanent residency options?
Yeah, sure. A few of them is understanding the parameters around travel restrictions and or understanding what the duration of status means. So when it comes to your visa and your authorized stay, those are two different things. So your visa has the amount of time you are allocated to remain to hold that visa. So that visa specifically dictates your entry and exit. So most times you might be hearing things about other students having to, when they leave the country, having to get another visa stamp. That's because their visa has expired, meaning that the document that they need or the stamp that they need to re-enter the country, that is something that they would need to renew in order to re-enter the country. Their authorized stay in the country is valid, but what they need to re-enter the country is not. So those are things that you need to stay on top of to, to understand or to ensure that you are maintaining a valid status, maintaining a valid visa. All those things are important. So looking at what your travel, what parameters there are around travel. If you are, changing status, also, know that for that period of time that you're changing status, you won't be able to leave the country, because once you leave, you may no longer be considered in status, and so you would need to always maintain be in the country while you're changing status. So those are specific little things that you would need to know, and those things you may not be to know it just as just a regular person or regular student or regular, just someone that is going through the immigration process. So your DSO, so different points of contact, will help you to navigate through maintaining status. So those are your immigration attorneys. So people like myself and my colleagues who are very knowledgeable about, maintaining status, knowing about compliance and things like that, while also your designated school or student officer. That person is the go-to person, the point of contact at your school for immigration. So please make sure you utilize them well and utilize them often.
Okay, that was a very, very insightful conversation with you, Miss Attorney Oki. So we love interviewing you and immigrationquestion.com. To everyone tuning in from Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and beyond, thank you for joining us. Whether you're a student, a recent graduate, or a family member supporting someone's immigration journey, we're grateful to have you here. And if this is your first time with us, welcome to immigrationquestion.com. Serves as a meeting ground between immigration attorneys and individuals seeking answers related to immigration. Our platform is trusted by many AILA attorneys who use it to connect with clients. You can ask questions in any language, completely free, and be connected with a licensed attorney for legal guidance, like Miss Attorney Oki right here. Many of our users even receive free confidential initial consultation. And some exciting news. We are proud to share that immigrationquestion.com is now a BB accredited, reflecting our commitment to transparency, trust, and client-first service. So, Attorney Oki, with your background in supporting international students and immigrant communities, what impact have you seen immigrationquestion.com making for people navigating transitions like F-1 to green card journey?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that organizations like Immigration Question specifically, looks like a organization that seems very, very accessible. And that's something that, even in the last time I was on this platform, I spoke very, very passionately about. I feel like immigration is one field that requires accessibility. Just because there is always changes happening. I mean, the past 2 or 3 days, I mean, even immigration lawyers like myself, we can attest to the fact that we probably didn't sleep a wink over the weekend. So these are just examples of how quickly things change, and how fast. And these are all based on politics. So it's all, politics based on national security, just based on anything can upend something at any time, when it comes to immigration. So accessibility and just having direct accessibility to an answer really, really helps, and it really makes a difference between someone's really, really frantic and anxious about what's going on, and someone having a better peace of mind, even if it's for the short term. So,
Okay, thank you for sharing that, Attorney. Okay, it's good to know that our platform helps bridge gaps for students for a need for both clarity and legal support. So before we shift into the live Q&A, I'd like to ask from your experience, what single piece of advice would you give an international student today who hopes to eventually secure a green card?
Yeah, for sure. My single piece of advice would be to stay informed or stay up to date with policy changes. I know that I keep beating a dead horse, but these past few days has just really been a testament as to how quickly policy changes. So just stay up to date so that and being up to date, being fully informed of what's going on will help you to navigate any immigration process seamlessly. So if you know that, for example, even when it comes to the most recent changes to EB2 NIW, has been where EB2 NIW has shifted more to prioritize those who are learning in AI. If you know that you're learning in AI, you'd be more enthusiastic to apply. I mean, to build your profile so that you can show the USCIS that this is the work you've done in AI, so that would help you to navigate and hopefully get the approval for the EB2 NIW as you are hoping to apply for. So those are just one or two examples of how policies can change, and policy changes, good or bad, is just really helpful to know so that they help you and they assist you with navigating through the application process.
Okay. So being informed is really, really vital, right? So,
Yes.
guys, if you're joining us, we've been having a robust discussion with Attorney Oki on the topic from F-1 visa to green card long-term options for international students. Now we're moving to our live Q&A segment. This is your chance to ask your own questions. Drop them in the chat or call us live at 516-703-3483. I'll say it again. That's 516-703-3483. So, and we'll get to as many as possible. Thank you so much, Attorney, okay, for sharing your expertise today. Your insights into F1 and 2 green card process have provided clarity and hope for so many international students planning their future in the US. To our audience, thank you so much for joining us. We hope today's session gave you a clear understanding of visa to green card options and how to prepare for long-term immigration success. Remember, you can always visit us at www.immigrationquestion.com to ask your immigration questions for free and connect with a licensed attorney like our lovely attorney, Miss Okay. Many of you may qualify for our free and confidential consultation. You, if you'd like to revisit today's webinar or share it with a friend, the replay will be available soon on Spotify. Search Borderless Talk by immigrationquestion.com. Join us again on Friday for another timely, vital conversation. Once again, thank you, Attorney Okay, and thank you to everyone who tuned in. Until next time, stay informed and stay prepared. Oh,
Are we